Have you ever wondered why your good morning gets a cold, flat reply while another man's two words echo in her mind all day long? It's not luck. It's not magic. It's psychology. The first message she reads in the morning doesn't just start her day. It frames how she thinks of you. And if your words carry no weight, if they lack strength, depth, or presence, then brother, she'll scroll right past you without a second thought. But here's the brutal twist. It's not about how many words you send. It's about what those words represent. A boy sends paragraphs to beg for attention. A man sends a single line that shifts her entire emotional state. The difference isn't in the text. It's in the man behind it. So in this video, I'm going to hand you 7 good morning messages that will flip the frame. 7 ways to plant yourself in her mind so deeply, she'll find herself thinking about you hours later, replaying your words while she works, while she scrolls, while she lies awake at night. And more than that, I'll show you how Stoic philosophy transforms these from simple messages into echoes of strength, calm, and masculine presence. Because remember this, it's not the good morning that matters. It's the man who sends it. Morning is more than a time of day. It's a doorway. It's the threshold where the mind is still soft, still shaping itself for what's ahead. And this is exactly why your first words carry more weight than you realize. They don't just greet her, they frame her day. If you come across weak, you set yourself up as background noise. But if you come across strong, calm, and unforgettable, you become the thought she can't shake. Most men get this wrong because they confuse attention with presence. They think effort means sending long paragraphs, emojis, desperate affirmations. What they don't understand is that women don't fall for noise. They fall for signal. And a true signal doesn't beg to be heard. It commands attention by its very nature. Think of it this way. When Marcus Aurelius woke at dawn, he didn't waste time with flowery words about the day ahead. He grounded himself. He reminded himself of duty, of clarity, of strength. Your good morning message must do the same. It must be more than a text. It must be a reflection of your frame, a glimpse of your discipline, a reminder that you live from strength, not weakness. Because here's the reality. A good morning text will never make her fall for you if your life is small, your words hollow, and your presence weak. But if you are grounded, disciplined, and magnetic, even 2 words from you can echo in her mind like thunder. So now, let's break this down. I'm going to give you 7 good morning messages that will make her think about you all day long. Each one isn't just a line. It's a strategy, a mirror of your masculinity, a psychological anchor. And when you learn how to use them, you'll never send another weak text again. 1. The grounded reminder. Most men wake up and spill weakness into the first text they send. They're desperate to be noticed, so they overcompensate. Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept well. I can't stop thinking about you. What does that actually communicate? That you have nothing better to do than orbit her. That your life begins and ends with her response. It's not love. It's neediness dressed up as romance. And women can smell that weakness before they even finish reading the first line. But here's the truth. A real man doesn't need to flood her with words. His strength is in restraint. His message isn't long. It's grounded, solid, unshaken. A single line that sets the tone without begging for validation. Something like, "Morning, stay sharp today." That's not a plea for attention. That's presence. That's calm authority. Here's the psychology behind it. Human beings are wired to respond to those who carry certainty. When you send a short, grounded message, you're signaling stability. You're not grasping at her attention. You're establishing yourself as a man who already has direction, who already owns his day. Women crave this energy because it creates safety and polarity. You're not saying, "Please notice me." You're saying, "I notice, but I am unmoved."
Picture this. Tom, 48, used to send long, flowery paragraphs every morning to a woman he was seeing. She would reply politely at first, then shorter, then eventually she stopped replying altogether. Why? Because his messages were dripping with desperation. Later, he shifted. He began sending simple, grounded lines like, "Morning, own the day." Suddenly, her responses changed. She started chasing his tone, leaning into the strength she felt in his words. The difference wasn't the words themselves, it was the man he became behind them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Weak morning texts are neither right nor true. They're just noise. But a grounded message reflects your truth. It shows that you speak from presence, not from panic.
Here's the shift. Stop sending texts that scream insecurity. Start sending words that mirror strength. Keep it short. Keep it steady. Because when you send her a grounded reminder, you're not just wishing her a good morning, you're placing your presence in her mind before the world has even touched her. 2. The subtle challenge. Here's where most men go wrong. They think women want comfort first thing in the morning. They believe that showering her with compliments or endless affirmations will make her feel secure and desired. But the truth? Comfort without challenge kills attraction. A woman doesn't dream about the man who makes her feel safe like a teddy bear. She dreams about the man who stirs her blood, who pushes her higher, who makes her want to rise to meet him.
That's why the subtle challenge is so powerful. Instead of feeding her ego, you test it. You give her a message that doesn't just wish her well, but demands something from her. Something like, "Morning, don't let today beat you. You're tougher than that." That isn't sweet. That isn't needy. That's strength. It plants the idea that you see her as capable, that you expect more from her than the world does, and that expectation is intoxicating. Here's the psychology. Human beings rise to the standards others set for them. When a man sets a challenge, he frames himself as a leader, someone whose approval must be earned. This flips the script. Instead of her being the prize you're chasing, you become the prize whose respect she's eager to win. Women, especially young women, are wired to chase the validation of the man who does not hand it out cheaply. Picture this. David, 52, texts a younger woman he's seeing. He doesn't send, "Good morning, hope you crush it today." Instead, he writes, "Don't let today control you. Own it." She laughs when she reads it, but something stirs. Later that afternoon, she messages him back, "You'd be proud of me today." Do you see what happened? His challenge didn't just make her think of him, it made her want to prove herself to him. That's the power of the subtle challenge. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." When you remind her of this truth, when you frame the day as a test of her character, you step into the role of a man who awakens her potential rather than just soothing her emotions. And women never forget the man who makes them stronger. Here's the shift. Stop texting like a cheerleader. Start texting like a commander. Your words should call her upward, not cushion her downward. Because the man who challenges her without being cruel, who expects more without being needy, becomes the man she thinks about all day long. 3. The mystery line. Here's the mistake every average man makes. He spells everything out. He leaves no tension, no room for imagination. He writes paragraphs explaining how much he cares, how much he misses her, how much he hopes she thinks of him. And what happens? She doesn't think of him at all, because desire doesn't thrive on certainty, it thrives on mystery.
The mystery line is about planting a seed she can't stop watering in her own head. Instead of telling her exactly what you mean, you leave just enough space for her imagination to go to work. A simple line like, "This day will tell me something about you." Notice what that does. It's not long, but it forces her mind to engage. She wonders, what does he mean? What will today reveal? What is he seeing in me that I don't see myself? Suddenly, you're not just a man who texted her. You're a riddle she can't stop replaying. Here's the psychology. The Zeigarnik effect tells us that unfinished thoughts linger in the mind far longer than completed ones. By sending a line that's incomplete, you create an open loop in her brain. She can't resolve it without thinking of you. And that's exactly where you want to live. In her thoughts, quietly, persistently, all day long. Picture this. Mark, 50, sends a young woman a morning text. "The way you handle today will say a lot." He doesn't explain. He doesn't elaborate. He just lets it sit. She reads it 3 times. All morning she finds herself wondering what he meant, whether she'll live up to his standard, whether he'll be proud when he sees her again. And while she's busy analyzing, Mark is already on to his day, grounded, disciplined, unmoved. That contrast makes his presence feel 10 times heavier. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And this is where you harness that truth. You let her imagination do the heavy lifting. Instead of giving her closure with words, you give her mystery. And mystery is the oxygen of desire. Here's the shift. Stop sending texts that explain everything. Start sending lines that say less but mean more. Give her a question to hold on to. Give her a thought she can't shake. Because when her mind keeps circling back to you, even against her will, that's when you know you've mastered the art of presence. 4. The silent image. Most men think the more they type, the more they'll be remembered. But the truth? Every extra word is a chance to reveal weakness. And the strongest presence often needs no words at all. That's why the silent image is so powerful. Because sometimes, a picture plants you in her mind more deeply than a novel ever could. Here's the psychology. Human beings are visual creatures. Our brains process images 60,000 times faster than text. A single picture has the power to burn itself into memory, to evoke emotions long after words have faded. When you send her a morning image, not of you begging for attention, not of your face plastered with neediness, but of something grounded, raw, and timeless, you frame yourself as a man who sees the world differently. Something as simple as a sunrise, a black coffee, or the sweat on your training gear after a dawn workout. No caption needed. She fills in the meaning herself. Picture this. Daniel, 47, doesn't text, "Good morning, babe." He sends a photo of his morning run, the street empty, the horizon breaking with light. No words, just presence. The woman who receives it stares at it longer than she admits. She feels his discipline without him boasting. She imagines his pace, his breath, his focus. And most importantly, she imagines him. That's how you plant yourself in her thoughts without saying a thing. Now imagine the insecure man. He sends a selfie from bed, messy hair, forced smile, captioned, "Good morning, cutie, thinking of you." Do you know what that communicates? That his world is small, centered around her, and that he has nothing better to offer than his need. She'll scroll, smile politely, and forget him before her coffee gets cold. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The silent image is your chance to show her the color of yours. Discipline, strength, presence. You don't explain it. You don't need to. You let the picture do what words can't. Here's the shift. Stop filling her phone with noise. Start giving her images that burn themselves into her mind. Because when she sees your morning not as a plea for attention, but as a glimpse of strength, she won't just think of you in that moment. She'll think of you again and again every time her day slows down. 5. The frame setter. Here's where most men lose the game. They think the purpose of a good morning message is to center her. They revolve around her like a planet around the sun, pouring energy into her day while having none of their own. That's weakness. A real man doesn't orbit, he sets the orbit. He doesn't lose himself in her frame. He establishes his own and invites her to be part of it. That's what the frame setter does. Instead of asking about her plans, you state yours. Instead of begging for her attention, you reveal your mission. Something like, morning, training at 7, meeting stacked after, win the day. Short, direct, complete, no apology, no fluff. It communicates, I'm a man on a mission and my life is moving with or without you. Here's the psychology. Women are drawn to momentum, to direction, to men whose lives are already in motion. When you frame your day with purpose, you instantly separate yourself from the hordes of men whose lives revolve around validation. She doesn't just read your words. She feels your energy. She imagines you in movement, already building, already conquering, already shaping your world before she's even had her first sip of coffee. That image sticks in her mind. Picture this. Anthony, 50, used to send long morning check-ins like, "Hey, how's your day looking? What are you up to?" He thought he was showing care, but what he was really showing was passivity. One day, he switched. He started sending, "Morning, gym done, heading into work, eyes forward." Suddenly, her replies changed. She wasn't reporting her schedule anymore. She was chasing his energy, wanting to be part of his momentum. The difference wasn't the text, it was the frame, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each dawn. At day's first light, think of what it means to live as a man. This is what the frame setter does. It declares that you live from discipline, not from drift. That your day is already in your grasp and you're not waiting for permission to live it. Here's the shift. Stop centering her in your morning texts. Start centering yourself. Let her see your mission, your motion, your discipline. Because when she wakes up and sees you're already moving forward, she won't just think about you. She'll wonder how she can keep up. 7. The playful tease. Here's a truth men forget. Attraction isn't built only on strength. It's built on contrast. You can be grounded, serious, disciplined, but if you have no playfulness, no spark, you become heavy. And heaviness alone doesn't magnetize. Women crave the man who can carry authority in one breath and drop a playful line in the next. That balance of control and humor is what makes him unforgettable. The playful tease is exactly that. Instead of showering her with forced compliments, you plant a light challenge wrapped in humor. Something like, "Try not to cause chaos before noon. I'm counting on you." It's not needy. It's not romantic fluff. It's playful authority. You're teasing her, but from a position of control, and that triggers something deeper than just a smile. Here's the psychology. Teasing creates a microdose of tension and release. It flirts without begging. It draws her into your frame while making her feel seen in a way no generic "good morning, beautiful" ever could. Women associate this energy with confidence, because only a man who's secure in himself can risk teasing instead of worshiping. Picture this. Robert, 49, sends his good morning messages like clockwork. They're always polite, always flattering, always safe. And safe is why she never thinks about him past breakfast. Then he changes it up. One morning, instead of a compliment, he texts, "Don't start trouble before your second coffee. You know you can't handle it." Her response? Laughter, curiosity, and most importantly, she texts him back hours later referencing his joke. Why? Because humor sticks. It echoes. It replays in her mind like a song. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." Teasing is proof of that power. You're showing that you're not unconquered by her beauty, her presence, her approval. You're relaxed. You can play. And that very playfulness rooted in self-control makes you magnetic. Here's the shift. Stop sending heavy, predictable texts. Mix in play. Use humor not as a clown, but as a king who knows he can afford to laugh. Because the man who can tease from strength will live in her mind all day. Not as the safe guy, not as the desperate guy, but as the man who made her feel alive before the day even began. 7. The timeless Stoic note. Every man sends good morning texts, but only a rare kind of man sends words that outlive the morning. This is where you separate yourself, not with emojis, not with flattery, but with wisdom. When you send a message that anchors her mind in something deeper, something timeless, you stop being just another man in her inbox. You become the man who expands her world. The timeless Stoic note is about sharing a line of wisdom, not as a lecture, not as a sermon, but as a spark. Something like, Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What color are you painting today? Notice what that does. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't beg. It challenges her to think. It frames you as a man who values discipline, philosophy, and depth. And most importantly, it leaves her with a question she can't shake. Here's the psychology. Women bond most deeply with men who make them feel something beyond surface-level excitement. When you make her think, when you introduce her to wisdom that reframes her day, you create an emotional and intellectual anchor. She doesn't just see you as attractive. She sees you as rare, the kind of man who sharpens her instead of distracting her. Picture this. Michael, 53, sends a young woman a morning message. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Remember that today." She reads it twice, then again later, and by the end of the day, when she feels herself spiraling into stress, his words return to her. But in her mind, they're not Seneca's words anymore. They're his. He becomes the voice she hears in her moments of weakness. That's not just attraction, that's influence. Epictetus wrote, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The timeless Stoic note does exactly that. You're not bragging about how deep you are. You're not lecturing. You're embodying wisdom by weaving it naturally into her day, and she feels the difference. Here's the shift. Stop wasting your mornings with texts that vanish by lunch. Start sending words that echo until night. Because when you frame yourself as the man who brings strength, clarity, and timeless thought into her life, you won't just make her think about you all day. You'll make her wonder why no other man has ever spoken to her that way. Now you know the truth. These 7 good morning messages aren't tricks. They aren't magic spells. They're reflections, mirrors of the man you are. If you're grounded, disciplined, magnetic, they'll echo in her mind all day long. But if you're needy, hollow, and weak, they'll vanish before she even finishes her coffee. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go to the comments and write this phrase. My words carry weight. Because that's the standard. Your words are not cheap. They're not noise. They are extensions of your presence, your frame, your masculinity. And when your words carry weight, even a 2-line message can plant itself in her thoughts like an anchor. And if you're ready to keep sharpening that presence, to keep stripping away weakness and building the kind of man women never forget, then subscribe. This isn't just a channel. It's a brotherhood. Every week we forge men into weapons. Every week we build strength that cannot be ignored. Remember this: a boy texts to be noticed. A man texts because he already is. Be that man.